I've been getting ready for a knitting festival, and it's making me think about something. Every time an event like this comes around, there's this feeling that I should be making lists, planning purchases, researching yarn, deciding what I might cast on next. And I enjoy that. I genuinely do. I love looking at beautiful yarn and imagining what it could become. But at the same time, I've been trying to pay attention to the feeling underneath all of that. There's a line from a TV show that I've been watching that keeps coming back to me. It says, "If this isn't a competition, why is everyone running so fast?" And I don't think it's really just about knitting. I think about that line every time I open social media. It feels like everyone is making more, buying more, finishing more projects, finding the perfect yarn, planning the next thing before they've even finished the current thing. And sometimes I notice myself getting pulled into that pace too. Not because anyone is forcing me to, just because it's so easy to absorb the speed of the world around us. Lately, I've been trying to ask myself a different question. Not, what else do I need? But what do I already have? And not, what should I be making next? But more, what am I enjoying right now? Because the truth is, I already have beautiful yarn. I already have projects that I'm excited about. And I don't want to arrive at a knitting festival feeling like I need to buy something just to justify being there. I'd much rather arrive feeling curious. Maybe I'll find a skein that I absolutely love. And maybe I'll come home with nothing. Maybe the best part won't be the yarn at all. Maybe it'll be the conversations. Maybe it'll be seeing people whose work I've admired for years. Maybe it'll be sitting down with a cup of coffee and a knitting project and feeling part of something bigger than myself. I think that's what I'm hoping to bring with me this year. Not a shopping list, just a little curiosity. And maybe also the reminder that this isn't a competition. Nobody is keeping score. There's no prize for finishing the most projects, buying the most yarn, or keeping up with everyone else. The yarn will still be there. The projects will still be there. And hopefully, if I pay attention, I'll still be able to enjoy them at my own pace. My name is Sandra. I'm from Iceland, and I'm building a more handmade wardrobe, slowly, quietly, over a long time. If you're new here, welcome. I'm happy to have you here. And if you're returning, welcome back. I thought it was a good idea to film outside, but maybe it's not such a good idea. There was a really big truck driving up the road, and the bird that I feed during the winter is really singing his heart out back here. So it is what it is. But the weather is nice. Well, nice-ish. It's like probably like 45 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that. And it does feel like it's going to rain, so I put the screen over here so that I could sit outside. I wanted to come in and record just a quick podcast episode before I leave for the Iceland KnitFest in a few hours. Mostly because I don't want to have so much content to go through, and also just to get some thoughts out of my head and into the camera, I guess. I feel it's so therapeutic to go through my plans and my thoughts this way. It's giving me a lot more like overview of what I want. So for that, I'm so grateful that I started this YouTube channel. So just really quickly, it's going to be hopefully a short episode. What I want to go over is just a finished object. As I've said so many times before, knitting is a slow craft. It's not supposed to be fast, and I feel like we are almost expected on social media to have so much output that it sometimes feels like it's a knitting competition, even though it's not at all. So I have a finished object, my shawl that I was hoping to get finished before Prjónagleðin, the Iceland KnitFest, and I did. I'm also going to show you what I'm wearing. So what I'm wearing is my low bib pinafore. I actually decided to dye it yesterday. So it's now this beautiful chocolate brown. And I have my kutar top on top. This is a pattern by Sari Nordland. And it's actually it's such a good pattern. It's one of my favorites to knit. And so I have, this is the kutar tee. I have the kutar top pattern. I've knit that up for my sister for her birthday some years ago. And I knit this kutar tee for myself at the same time so that we could match but not match. And then I've made the kutar pullover for my mother-in-law for her 70th birthday. So I highly recommend this pattern. It's a really good pattern. It's a really good fit. And it's so fun to knit. So I'm actually was looking at my yarns, and I think I might knit another one of these just in a smaller size because I feel like this one is a little bit too big. So that's what I'm wearing. And my finished object this time is my mystery musical shawl. Look at this beauty. I adore it. I'm so happy that I finished it. I'm so happy that I picked it up again to finish knitting it. It would have been a shame to just let it wither away in my project bag, like so many other things that have, well, just ended their days in a project bag. So while I talk to you, I'm going to be cutting my ends because I wove in all my ends and I blocked this yesterday. I always block things on my guest bed, which, I mean, technically it is the guest bed, but the cat that lives in my house believes that this is his room, so he doesn't understand that sometimes this bed of his is used for other things. It's a full-size bed, so he should not have a full-size bed, but he does, and so he was thrilled to see when I was blocking this on the bed that he had a new shawl, and now he doesn't understand why I took it off of the bed. He's a really funny cat. I don't think I've ever told you the story of the cat, but I might in a different episode. I always say that this cat lives with me because he's not mine. He moved into our house from a neighbor. So yeah, he's not mine, but he lives here in the guest bedroom. And the guest bed is apparently his bed. Anyway, so I managed to get this finished before Iceland KnitFest, and just in the nick of time. I finished blocking and washing and everything yesterday, and I recorded my process of blocking because I know that a lot of you enjoyed the when I blocked my Soleil summer top when I was in the States. And so I figured that I would maybe show a comparison of how I block a shawl compared to how I block like a garment, like a top. Because with the top, I just lay it on the bed, but with the shawl, I actually pin it in place. So just quickly, I I let it sit in the sink for a while. I had a meeting yesterday, so I just let it sit there for like, I don't know, it was probably sitting in the water for 2 hours. And I make sure not to agitate the water when I'm putting the shawl in, because I think that when the water is agitated, there's a higher risk of it felting. So I just make sure that, you know, everything is calm and the way it's supposed to be when I pop my shawl into the water. And then I just let it sit. When it's finished soaking in all of the water and the soap that I use is a certain, like a detergent for wool and silk and things like that. I buy it at one of the local yarn stores here. I'm sure that you can buy it at a local yarn store or somewhere online if you are interested in that. But I just make sure that I like this kind of detergent because I don't have to rinse it out. So it's okay if it's not completely rinsed, because I really don't enjoy the process of rinsing the soap out of the garment. So I just do that just to make my life a little bit easier. And I like the way it smells. So once it's been soaked, I take the shawl carefully out. I make sure that it's not being pulled in any direction or anything like that. So usually I just pop it in a garment bag while it's still in the sink, and make sure that I'm not pulling on anything. So then I put it into the washing machine. I put it on a spin cycle, and that just gets all of the excess water out. Once that is done, I take it into wherever I'm going to block. In my case, it's always, well, not always, usually the guest bedroom. And I lay it there. I stretch it to the, well, I don't stretch it to dimensions because I don't actually measure, but I stretch it so that the sides that are supposed to be straight become straight, and then I stretch it out to how I feel that it should be in shape. Sometimes that is not the way that the designer intended, but that's fine. It's my shawl and I will be the one wearing it. So yeah, so I do that. And when I'm happy with it, I just leave it there to rest and dry. And of course, you know, because it's not necessary, the cat will come and lay on it. Maybe he felt that the fluff on this shawl was too dark and he wanted to add some white fluff. So I have some additional white fluff in my shawl, courtesy of Gizmo, the cat. So yeah, I hope this was helpful if you watch this. I set myself some learning goals for this month, and I'm hoping to be able to learn how to put timestamps so that you can just skip to the content that you want to watch. But no promises that it's there in this video, but it's coming, I promise. So here is my mystery musical, all finished and blocked and ready to go to Iceland KnitFest. I am so happy with these colors. I am so happy with the shape. Sometimes I feel that shawls are too deep, so like they're too long because I'm so short. But I think this one is perfect. I love it this way. And I don't know if I should wrap it around my neck because of my microphone, but it's also beautiful around my neck. So that's my finished object, and I really like it. My works in progress are the same. I've been doing a little bit of work on my Veronica, but of course my whole focus has been on my mystery musical, so that's what I've been knitting all week. But my Veronica tee is coming along nicely. I'm still just knitting back and forth to get this to be 15 centimeters. I am hoping to get some knitting done in the car on the way north. So I'm going to the Iceland KnitFest with my best friend. And just a pro tip for those of you who knit and travel with your knitting friends, get a knitting friend that gets car sick if they don't drive. That means that you always get the knitting time in the car when you're driving somewhere. So lucky me, I will be driving with my best friend Driva to Blöndos in the north. And it's like a 3-hour drive or so, so I will get 3 hours of wonderful knitting time with views and good conversation. So I'm excited for that. That is my pro tip for today. So my Veronica tee is coming along. I also have my Felix cardigan, and I will also be bringing this along on my trip to the north. There's not much to see right now, but it's coming along nicely. And then because I get sometimes distracted, maybe, or like enamored with all of the nice yarn when I go to knitting festivals. And it can be so hard to not control myself, because that's not what I mean, because that just makes it sound like it's something dirty and shameful, but it becomes so hard to just not buy all of the yarn. And when I buy yarn at yarn festivals, sometimes I buy yarn with a specific project in mind. Sometimes I buy yarn just because I think it's so beautiful, and sometimes it's new bases that I want to try. There's all kinds of reasons, and of course I also just want to support all of the people who are selling yarn. I want there to be a basis for having yarn shops in Iceland. I remember when, I don't know if it's like this where you are from, but scrapbooking used to be really big here in Iceland, like probably like 20 years ago or something. And we had like 4 or 5 scrapbooking stores, and everything was so accessible, and it was so, there was such a variety of things. And then, when the interest in scrapbooking dropped, of course, some of the stores closed, and then getting materials was more difficult. And I don't want that to happen with yarn as well. So I do my part to support yarn businesses here in Iceland, but I also want to be mindful of, I don't need to have a store's quantity here in my home. So I'm trying to be mindful of like all of these different aspects of going to a yarn festival. So yesterday and this morning, I've been reminding myself, gently of course, of the projects that I still haven't started, that I have already bought yarn for and things like that. As I said earlier, I want to make another top like this, and I might get some yarn for that, but we'll see. I'm not making any promises on you know, bands or anything like that. It's not the way I do things. But I have my yarn baskets with me out here because I've been placing in this basket projects that I want to complete or that I want to start, hopefully before autumn, and also one that I'm hoping to get finished this summer. So I'm going to show you that as well, just to get it out of my head. So let's see. I don't know if this is like, is this blocking something? Is it in the way? Maybe I will just show you things here. So as some of you may remember, I bought this yarn while I was in Florida. This is the Malabrigo Sussurro. That will be a sunshine top from Vinta Knits once I get to that. Really looking forward to it. As you can see, it's not far away from the color of this, so I think it will be great. So this is a project that I'm really excited for. So I don't need to buy any yarn for a sunshine top. I also have, some of you may remember, I also have this yarn that I reclaimed from a top that I never wore. I'm planning on making a, what is it called? Darjeeling top or a Darjeeling blouse. I don't remember which one I wanted to make, but I have enough yarn for that here. So I don't need to buy yarn for this either. And then I think in my first or second episode, I talked about wanting to make the Come Back Again cardigan by Andrea Mowry, and I've made a swatch. I love that in this pattern, at least. I haven't knit any other Andrea Mowry patterns, but in this one, the swatch is the pocket for the cardigan. How brilliant is that? There's no excuse not to make a swatch if it's part of the project, right? So I've made a swatch and my gauge is spot on. This is yarn that I have from Gart Budettu that I bought probably, sorry. I probably bought this like a year ago or maybe even longer. It's a mix of Suri alpaca and merino 50-50. And it's non-superwash, so I think this will be a fantastic cardigan. I have this project. And then when I went to a yarn festival in March, that was actually just like right in my neighborhood that I walked to, I bought this yarn here from Vassnes Yarn. This is Peruvian Highland DK, and I was planning on making another ranunculus with this. So I've been reminding myself of these projects just so that I don't forget about my yarn collection and the plans that I have for my yarn collection once I get to Blönduós. So yeah, that's what I have here in my knitting basket. And I will be bringing my Veronica tea with me to the north, to the festival, and I will also be bringing this, the Felix cardigan. The Felix cardigan knits up so quickly that, you know, maybe I will finish that. And I mean, you know, in the very unlikely event that I finish both my Veronica tea and my Felix cardigan, then I will be surrounded by yarn and beautiful things that I can buy for projects anyway. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. This is the 10th anniversary of the Iceland KnitFest, so it's a like a birthday, a big birthday. So Svana, who is the project manager of this event, I didn't realize it would be so noisy, I'm sorry. But Svana, who is the project manager of this event, has been doing a great job of just making this bigger and better than it has ever been. So we have, like in this yarn festival, there is a like a yarn square where you can go and shop from all of these different vendors. All of them are Icelandic, I believe. I don't think there's anyone coming from abroad, but there will be lots of hand dyers, there will be small shops and things like that. So I'm really excited to go and meet all of my friends who are dyeing yarn, and it's just such a beautiful community. So I'm really, really looking forward to this weekend. But in addition to that, there's also workshops. I'm teaching 2 mending workshops. But there are also workshops in crochet, there are workshops in different techniques in knitting. Stephen West is the guest for this year's festival, so he has 2 workshops, I believe. There's also a spinning workshop. There's lots of workshops. I won't be attending any of the workshops because I have 2 of my own. But there's so much to do, and then there will be speakers as well. There's a speaker, like one of my knitting friends that I've spoke about before. She's a designer, Sandra Granqvist. She takes beautiful photographs of her knits, and you can see it on her Instagram. I will put a little thing here on the screen, and I will link her in the description as well. She takes beautiful, beautiful photographs, and she will be speaking about how to photograph your knits, tips and tricks for beginners. There is Stephen West will have he's one of the keynote speakers. There are so many. There will be, I think there are 3 art exhibitions as well. And this evening, as like a prelude to the Iceland KnitFest, because officially it doesn't start until tomorrow, but this evening some local women in the community are opening their homes for knitting get-togethers, and I'm really excited about that. So I'm so happy that my friend and I are going tonight. We weren't planning on going until tomorrow, but last week when we went to a small yarn event here locally, we were talking about, oh, we wish we could go on Thursday. And so she being the go-getter that she is, and me just being the, oh, I wish I could dreamer, she just called the place that we are staying and asked if they were available one more night, and they are. So we will be going tonight, and I'm excited to go and visit at least one of the homes that will be open for a knit along. I'm always so inspired when there are events like this in small towns. Blönduós is a small town. I'm going to look up how many people live there because it's not that many. And so, being able to, so in the year 2024, there were 834 inhabitants in Blönduós. So it's not a small town. No, it's not a large town, I mean. And the fact that, I think there are 5 or 6 homes that will be open to knitters, I think is just so beautiful. I think it's a very Icelandic way of doing things, is that we open our homes and we are welcoming to guests to our communities. And so I'm so excited for this. So Svana, well done. I'm really looking forward to this anniversary edition of the Iceland KnitFest. Your hard work is not going unnoticed. So with that, I think I will leave you. So thank you for being here. Thank you for staying until the end with this rambling podcast. I appreciate you being here. So until next time, I will be here or somewhere close by, knitting and mending and maybe sewing something. I'm feeling the need to sew something, so maybe I will have something new to show you next time. But well, the time after that, because next time I will be showing you from the Iceland KnitFest, and I hope that's interesting to you as well. So thank you for being here. I'll see you later. Bye.